Welcome. When you leave, and you will leave eventually, you will be able to meet other beings around other stars and incarnate in human form. Incarnate's a little vague. You'll be able to create what feels like a language together. It's a living language that allows you to embody as a human and allows them to embody as a human in a kind of virtual reality of sorts. Now, this is always possible. It's like a dream time connection. And unless you've incarnated for real here, you don't have access to that language in nearly the same way. So, in many ways, it's sort of like a degree that you get. A degree. Think about that word. Degree measures your attunement. When you measure your attunement, you have to start with a base level, like where do we begin? I'm talking to you at a certain pace. I'm talking to you within a certain range of highs and lows. Now, English, we're not even talking about English yet. You take every human language on planet Earth, and they almost invariably exist within these relatively similar ranges. It's a choice. Who's to say we don't talk like this? We could choose a different pace. And if we did, that's where our consciousness would be. And if our consciousness was there, it wouldn't be here. Now, what on earth makes anybody think that little green men are going to show up on Earth, in a flying saucer and pop out and go blah, 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 blah. It's not just a different language, it's a different range of communication ability. For those of you who have begun to learn these things, one of the first things you find is the other day, a beautiful conversation on Volley described this as like getting water ballooned. I've thought of it as thought balls, which is a term used by David Talbot, who wrote The Holographic Universe. An incredible book, really. And in it, he introduced me to this concept, and then I began to experience it, where one very significant mode of communication is essentially you get a ball of energy and you just get it. It's like a package. And within that ball, you kind of interpret it at your own pace. Now, this is really significant because essentially it's like a translator. Spiritually, another being could exist at another range and create this ball of presence. And then I could convert it into something that I could understand. Now, in some ways, it seems to happen all at once, but really what's occurring is like I'm opening it and I'm being exposed to a wide range of feelings and thoughts and attitudes from another way of being. And then I have to put that into a context that I can most readily comprehend. When I do, I gain an expansion of my own awareness, of my own capacity to think and feel and conceive and be conscious. But make no mistake, it's a direct relation to my own limits at the time. A lot of this is worked out spiritually beyond levels of conscious intent. This is not inherently the language. This is a window between languages and ways of being that's very common. It's a normal thing. And as you gain access to it, you're just getting the ability to like draw the curtains and see through windows into many different ways of being. Over the ages, Thoth, Hermes, has talked with us in many different ways, and he talks in a language of the time. It's being converted. It's being translated into a form that makes sense. And so his natural consciousness is existing in an entirely different place. Every once in a while, it gives me peeks at it. It's just like, it's just peak, you know? It's like a peak, like climbing up the peak of a mountain. And I just get to like this expansive view of something else, but it's the limit of what I can handle. And these limits work in a beautiful way because they expose us to exactly as much as we can handle at any given time. And then we got to incorporate that. We got to bring it into our natural normal. There is a place. It's a vibrational place. It's a new range of vibrational awareness that we are being invited into. It uses words somewhat less. It's really exquisite. Words become hints that tune us into energies, and when we tune into the energy, we receive an emotional, empathic awareness. Now, this happens all the time anyway, but we are being invited into a depth that it's akin to bringing color into a world of black and white. My first exposure to this brought me into a faster pace. And in that faster pace, for years and years, it's been a constant flow of telepathic connection. I am always in telepathic connection that is just a normal part of my mind. I can shift frequencies, and I do, but I have to say I do it less and less as time goes on. I'm existing in this constant communion that allows me to be naturally related with different beings. At first, this developed as a defense mechanism because one of the first things that happens when you wake up is just the intention to connect puts you in connection. It's like, psh, and it's a little bit like driving a car. It's like you don't know the difference between full throttle on the gas pedal and a brake pedal. You just like, as soon as you focus, you're going, and it's totally overwhelming. And it becomes even worse. It becomes invasive because as soon as you gain the ability to do this, you're like lighting a fire on certain planes of awareness, and other beings can see you. They're like, oh, look at that one. It's lit. And as you emanate this awareness into the world, beings start to tap you and talk to you. And it happens as a normal, constant part of life. There are tree fairies that will talk to you this way. This is a normal mode of connection. And in the process, what you're doing is you're translating. You're not actually talking English with a tree fairy or even an alien. You're talking through a vibrational connection. And that vibrational connection carries meaning, carries purpose, carries sentiment, attitude, intention. And then we translate it somewhat naturally. So you're not hearing the words that they share directly unless they happen to speak English. This matters. It matters because as we get more and more exposed to this range, we become targets in a sense. Now, make no mistake, you're not a target for anything that isn't a part of you. So other beings see you, and you are resonant. You're resonating yourself into existence. As soon as you kind of open your wings and you're colorfully lit into reality, they see every major element of you, and they can just look into you and they see your history and they see your baggage. One of the first thresholds to transcend is to own it. This is why we do this like every week. I'm leading you back into you got to own your stuff. You got to face your stuff. When weird things happen to you, you must interpret it as where is your leverage? Where can your presence be focused in a way that you can do more work? So you digest this part of yourself and you're no longer resonating it into reality. There are thresholds that you step into where there's just a natural, universal, unconditional love. Beings see you and they're like, well, you got that baggage. Let's work it out. I have some relationship to that baggage. But this can feel terribly invasive. when you're coming from a consciousness that you've been able to convince yourself that you don't have certain baggage. That's daunting. That's really daunting. I want you to be present with this. You have been able to convince yourself that you don't have certain baggage. It's a normal state of being for humans in many, many, many ranges of cultural presence. To live as if you aren't you. Imagine you're a little pickup truck and you think you're empty and you think, you're just a little pickup truck. You're not particularly powerful. And you could go a certain speed and you could stop at a certain quickness, and you could pull a certain amount in your little pickup truck, but not that much. And then I tell you, you're not actually a little pickup truck. You're a medium-sized pickup truck pulling a trailer. You have the same amount of power as a little pickup truck because you have this much baggage. But you don't see yourself honestly. You don't see yourself clearly. You think you're smaller than you are, and you don't recognize this trailer you're pulling behind yourself. And as a consequence, when you make turns, that trailer swings back and forth, but you're not realizing it. And as a consequence, you can't dream properly. Now, make no mistake, when you think you're small, you believe you are limited by the ability of power of that smallness. And I'm telling you, you're not. You're actually this bigger size. But you're pulling this thing. And as a consequence, 100 units of strength minus 40 units of weight equals 60. You think you're just 60. You think you're 60 without baggage or without much baggage. But really, you're 100. You've just got to digest this 40. Now, the reason this is so relevant is on a certain plane, you can't hide this. It's not possible. You're seen. And as you start to wake up on any level, you're shooting this light into the world like little fireworks. Now you're much, much more seen. I mean, before you were seen, but you were boring. There was no point in paying attention to you. Now there's a point. You're living, you're vibrant. And so you're getting access to everything in that baggage. And spirits will come along and they'll be like, hey, look at that. You're carrying this. Hey, look at this. You're carrying this. And they'll start poking it. And when they poke it, when they see you, they make you think about it. And then you're like, oh man, I used to be happy. Now I'm not. Why am I? Oh, I've got so much tension and anxiety now. Now I'm like thinking about these things. I can't think clearly. Maybe I should drug myself. Maybe I'm manic depressive. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And it's happening because you're lit. You're lit up. You're starting to shoot energy into reality and show people who you are. It's time to learn a new language in order to be able to deal with it. Welcome. Good morning. I'm happy to have you here. SD Storm U11A223. Welcome here. That was the first person I saw. Alora, bless you. Good morning. Kidsy, thank you for being here. Gene, bless you. I'm so glad you're here. So, Alora has done some magnificent work getting the second course lit up so we can buy it on the website. And I'm really, really excited to move forward with this. The second course is all about taking your power to another level. It gives you weekly, deep, hour-long practices that are all yoga aligned with your chakras. So you're tuning your chakras with the help of yoga, and then you're actively delving in to deal with your baggage, to deal with whatever's there on purpose. So rather than waiting for something to tap you and bother you, You get in there and you say, let's do this work. Let's cleanse ourselves. Let's clear ourselves so we have all of our strength with us, present. That's what this whole channel, all this work, the courses, sessions, if you ever need them, that's what this is for, is to help convince you, to help you stay in trust that you are not this big trying to get this big. You are this big with this much baggage. As soon as you accept your baggage, you get to accept your true power. It's worth it. It is worth it. But the only reason it doesn't work is because people don't want to accept their baggage. Now, very typically, you've built your baggage when you're younger, when you're weaker, when you're less pronounced, when you're less able to handle it. So you gained a vision of your baggage that it's daunting. Actually, you're stronger now. You might not think so, but you are. You're more experienced. You've got a wider range of awareness. This stuff isn't as bad as you think, but you are habituated to avoiding it and ignoring it. You feel yourself as the one at the peak of the pain that caused the abuse, the trauma. That's where it resonates most loudly. The first trauma, the last trauma, the worst trauma, they all resonated there. And we make choices to avoid them, and then we pack them up in our baggage train. And once they're in there, often the prayer is, hey, please just make this quiet. Make it so it doesn't bother me. Chakra yoga is designed to help you get in there on purpose. Digest it to the point where you're not even carrying it. You can't just dump it. It just snaps back. It's connected to you. But you can digest it. You can be present with it. You can feel through it. And you can learn what you need to learn. Lessons. Less on. The beauty of this is just, you must accept it along the road. Less on. Lessons turn you from this strong down to this strong. Now you act down here so you're not so intense because something went wrong when you got more intense. So you act like you're 60% of yourself, less on. But in the process, you learn what's going on in between. You learn about the pain, the trauma. And you can't heal unless you agree to heal into the greater level of strength. So often people are just praying, just make it okay. Just make it okay. I don't need to be stronger. I don't think I'm that big a deal. I'm not, I just want to live it's actually very humble. People are typically naturally quite humble. Just like not praying for too much. It's not really a good thing. You got to pray for what is real. You're not randomly shooting a joy rocket into nowhere. There is an actual level of intensity and presence that exists. That's you. And you have to aim into being this, here, now. That's what chakra yoga is for. That's what the courses help you do. I'm so happy to have the first one done, and the second one has one more lesson, but you can begin now because everything is there for you. And here it's possible because the Lord just put it on the website and made it all seamless through the, you can get it that way, and you get all the guidance you need to make it happen and begin. You get a separate volley space where we discuss and answer questions on anything that's going on. I encourage you to try it out. Kidsy has been making incredible shorts every day. We're getting another one, and I really hope that you'll tune in. There are certain basic thresholds. If you are open to tuning in and just watch them and click like at the beginning, we're trying to get this going at the beginning. It does take a little more attention. YouTube algorithm goes, oh wow, 4 more people watch the whole thing, and it spreads more. So really small numbers make a big difference. And if you're at all interested, if you could please, just try to go, hey, what short's here today? It's a minute. It's a minute every day it pops up. And so if you start watching it and you watch through a whole short, they'll just keep showing you the next one when you go and visit. And it's a real blessing to help us get this fire going. So thank you so much, Kinsey, for all the work you're doing there. Thank you for being here and moderating. It's a true gift. Here we go. Thank you, team, indeed. Don't give it away too quickly, Alora. Let's soak it in. You just made it happen. Thank you. Here we go. I've been waiting for so long to tell you this, and it's come out like, you know, it's not, it doesn't seem as dramatic as it is, but I really want you to get this. So we're going to try to build this up. All right. Here's what I'm telling you. We have incredible amounts of power as creative beings. When you meet someone out there in the universe, forget about stars, forget about black holes, forget about anything else. You're existing and you meet some other being, right? Energy starts dancing between you. You immediately have the power of stars within you. Truly, truly. You have this magnificent intensity to create, and you're creating back and forth. The only challenge is once you start creating, you're creating karma in the process. You're dancing without weight, baggage, momentum, and then you're starting to create it. Then it exists. Now you have some degree of commitment to this other being you've created with. That's a big deal. So what mechanisms are you going to use to communicate? What's the groundwork? What pace do you go? You have to negotiate that. You have to work out how you're going to connect with another being. One of the simplest things that emerges is language. What language are you going to use? I'm telling you that when you graduate and leave Earth, and you will one day leave, you have Earth in you. Now, when you encounter another being out there in the universe who's been on Earth, you can go whoosh, and you could be out there in space, not on a planet, and you'll become a human, and they'll become a human. And then you have to negotiate which human languages you have, but you've got them in there. So whoosh, then you get to create something within this context. So reality itself becomes a living language. In fact, it always has been. Understand, because you do know these deep within you, that there's this place from which one of the reasons we're here is to develop this language. So we have the capacity to connect with others who've been here. It's like meeting someone who's gone to your college, but when you're on the other side of the world, oh my God, do you remember this? Do you remember this? That's what it's going to be like. You'll have this within you, and you'll be able to meet and connect, make love this way. Really. And the beauty of that is a gift that transcends what you can see in this from within this body. But that doesn't need to diminish what's going on now. The only reason it works is because we've blocked everything out and we've decided to be here. And in the process of being here, all our attention is zeroed in on this. And here we are. And we've got these feelings, we've got these attitudes, we've got this way. And we don't expend anything on other possibilities because they're gone. They're not here. Now, this is opening. The reason I can talk to you about this is because it's starting to change. And it's changing a little bit slowly. And I want to talk to you about a lot of different things at once. One of the coolest things is full disclosures coming, people. But you have to understand it's not really in the government's hands. Governments know full effing well that there are other beings in the universe. They've encountered them way too often. There are way too many stories, but they haven't wanted to create panic. There are too many different layers of investment in the way things are. The military-industrial complex is not at all pleased about the fact that they aren't remotely powerful in relationship to these forces. But make no mistake, there are two ways you can do this. If you know you're leaving next after this lifetime, and I promise you, that's not quite as definitive as you might think. But if you know you're leaving, then you're going to start to connect to beings that are leaving. They're essentially making caravans, reservations to go somewhere else. And you tune into them and you start to be like, maybe I'm going to go to the Pleiades next. Maybe I'm going to Sirius next. If you don't know this, Sirius is big compared to us. It's like a grapefruit. We're a pea. It's a big sun. And it's only 8 light years away. Not very far at all. There's like 10 stars within this distance. And Sirius is like huge and pure, and it's got a lot of planets around it. There's 2 other stars around it. There's a lot to do. 2 around Alpha Centauri, which is the closest. There's a lot to do there. A lot of people are going to go there. There's a thorough pathway to go there. The way you go next starts now. Starts with what you pay attention to now. What are you caring about now? When you start to tune into the earth, you get a very different perspective on this stuff. And I have to wonder, like, I was getting a little unhappy being being in the presence of how tangible and present Gaia is. And yet most of the esoteric kind of like extremes that you can find in mainstream media are about aliens that take you elsewhere. And beyond that, they're kind of like these like alien mysteries that they always involve these absurd levels of violence and like, come on, man, aliens don't have any desire to have anything to do with your anatomy. Get over it. Get over it. The bridge between what's possible and what it's possible for us to see depends upon you getting past the first layers. And one of the first things that happens is people manifest their darkest fears. So I'm telling you that when you connect with certain consciousness that's well beyond what we are, one of the first things that happens is they start to see you. And they need to get the fear out of the veins. Okay. The connection that you have with something else is going to be just fear is beyond static. It's like blaring heavy metal in the middle of a beautiful rainfall. Like you can't connect as long as you're carrying heavy fear baggage. So the reason people have all these stories about like being lobotomized and anal probes is because that's what they're fucking afraid of. It's a projection. But that projection gets manifested. It's not real, but as far as some people are concerned, it's sort of real. I mean, the difference between reality and not reality is not as pronounced as you might think. So the fears are loud. And when these extraterrestrial beings connect, they're investing their presence in your presence. And they have to invest it in the fear too. They have to. There's nothing else they can do. The fear's there. So they're doing that to get it out of the way. Most people just don't get past that point. You just don't get past it. They shrink back away, they freak out, and they are given the right to freak out and pull away. You have to get that right because otherwise you don't have any degree of awareness of like your control over your own fear. So it's actually a tremendous gift to let them greatly amplify their fear and then stop it. So unbeknownst to many people who've gone through this, they've actually been given a tremendous gift. It didn't really happen to them. I mean, it did, but it didn't. The distinction between reality and physical presence, it's not as distinct as you might think. So it happened, it didn't happen. They're given a gift of the ability. They said no. They said no. And on the other side of that connection, a being said, okay, we're going to help you. We're going to give you the right to say no to that. Now you've said no to that. We'll help you disengage. You lost the ability to talk to us. You lost the ability to see where we really are. That's sad. There's deep sadness in that. But now you at least get to carry through your life this deep recognition. It's not conscious, but on a deep level, the beings have a little bit more of an ability to navigate past your fear. That's why these stories are so common. And that's why they're at the edge of our cultures. But here's the thing. There ain't nothing going on here without Gaia's permission. Zero. Nothing. 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 Okay. All the different races that are doing like seemingly malicious things, they're basically hired actors. You might as well think of it that way. They're playing roles for people to help digest certain negative karmas. Make no mistake, Gaia does not digest all karma. She doesn't keep it all. So some races are essentially connecting with people on these negative forces, and you're going to have to go somewhere else with that. Now, under certain circumstances, they will take it and they will leave, and you will be diminished, and you won't have to deal with it, but you also won't get that power. You become a smaller, lower powered truck, basically. But it's worth it because you get to disengage from that karma. On a deeper level, you might have to go that way if you're too invested, if you've made too much of a certain kind of vibration, karmic presence. You might have to go with them to another place to be with that. And that's why Gaia doesn't talk to you, because you're being set up to leave when you think that way, when you act that way. She's right here and she's not even saying hi. It's a little bit sad. It's like, yo, the beauty right under us, right around us. So much more pronounced. So much more pronounced. By the way, if you don't like this shit, it's the most amazing stuff on the planet. Like, think about it. And yes, I do mean, please click like. I appreciate it. It really does. Make me smile and help the YouTube channel. But more importantly, This makes everything else boring to me. And it's increasingly preposterous. I'm like, how could I possibly learn all this stuff when it's not being talked about more frequently? And all I get reinforced is it is just in small groups. It's being kept small. It's being kept small for explicit reasons. Because on a certain level of intensity, one person clicks like one, I could leave. One more. One, really? Click like, people. Um, on a certain level of intensity, things spread. Things spread. And when they spread, it's a contagious effect. They spread like wild flowing fire. When they do, it takes over consciousness. Make no mistake, there's a relatively fragile balance that keeps you. Thank you. When you tune in to what's possible, the boundaries that keep you in the integrity of your ability to think of yourself as you. Like, I'm me. I'm going through my day. I have these habits. I have these thoughts that I try to think about. And then there's this other stuff that you can't help but think about. It's like pushing at you and you can't get, certain stresses off your mind, right? If there was too much energy of a certain kind near you, you wouldn't be able to ignore it. That's pretty daunting. That's more than a language, right? That's a living presence. Now, the dark side of this is obvious. It's like fascist regimes, right? You can get enough people thinking on a fear vibe. Now, people have got a fear. They've been starving. There are people lost a war. They're in pain. And all of that has energy. And all of that has a common energy to cultures that have experienced it in common. So somebody lost a war, like the millions of people in that country who lost the war all experienced a wound at a certain level of intensity. That level of intensity resonates, right? You can create something most easily that reverses it. So they all have to use that negative energy, but they just reverse it. And someone comes along and says, we are the best. We are the good. We are the power. We will win. Now, what they've done is they haven't changed the energy much. They've just flipped it. But everybody has it in common, so everybody has access to it. And so it takes you over. It's cultish, right? That's what demagogues always do. They're just taking this energy and it floods you. And if you're ever in the presence of anything remotely like this, you feel it. You feel it. It's vibrational. As you take it into your awareness, it becomes hard to think about something else. It becomes hard to remember who you are. It becomes hard to maintain your boundaries. And that's how seemingly good people end up condoning horrible things. Groups like that start to, they hang people. You can watch all these pictures of, communities hanging someone with photographs within the era of photographs. So they're milling about like it's a fucking party because they've gotten caught up in this. It's a vibrational takeover. Now, the reason it works is because something is appealing to everyone. They're all carrying this baggage in their trailer. Everybody's a little truck, all right? Everybody's a little truck and you've got a trailer. You're pulling that trailer, but you don't pay attention to what's in the trailer. When you've got that baggage, your neighbor has that baggage, this other person has that baggage, someone can come along and play that vibe and force you to pay attention to it. You are not able to say no because you've spent so much time denying that it is a part of you. That's why it's imperative that we intentionally go in our baggage, no matter how bad it may seem. Because as you remove it, you are no longer vulnerable to being grabbed and linked and pulled in these ways. And it's a prerequisite because I'm telling you, when you engage a universal attunement, so any consciousness, most beings are tuned with the universe consciously, right? So you engage an angel or just a traveler. A lot of them, whatever you call them, they're just traveling around watching. You engage them, they're tuned into the universe. They see you as 100 units. You're living down at 60 units. They see you as 100 units. That's who you are. But they're like, well, you've got these 40 units. Now, if they blast you with energy, everything in you gets louder. including all your baggage, but you're putting all this effort into ignoring your baggage. Now all your baggage is loud. Now, to a universal consciousness, this could be an incredible gift. Gives you the opportunity to deal with it. That's how you need to take it. That's my job in so many cases. Every week, I try to say this in a different way. You need to experience these negative vibes as a gift because it allows you direct access to your problems. Now, I was working with a dear person who they did some of my yoga and they got upset. They pulled away. And I'm like, look, the point is that it makes it louder so you can deal with it. And they're like, well, I'm well acquainted with my problems. And I'm like, no, you're not. You all think you're well acquainted with your problems, but you're not well acquainted with your problems. You're acquainted with the way you think about your problems. But that way of thinking about your problems has always been biased towards get this over with, make this stop. I don't want this. I don't want to deal with this. Come on, stop it. It's tough to change that attitude. It's tough not to loudly say, get this over with. But when you've never known fire, you don't know that you need it to cook food. So the only things you can eat are things that don't need to be cooked. You can never eat soup made from acorns that have to cook for a day, soak and cook for a day, because you can't cook the acorns. You can never eat a wide range of meat because you'll get sick from the parasites in them. People who eat raw meat on a regular basis, you better be damn sure that meat doesn't have parasites in it, because much does, and you're going to get very sick. Herbivores can live on all sorts of stuff, and they can live with all sorts of parasites that you can't live with when you're a human. It'll kill you or make you very sick. Definitely don't eat bears. They'll make you even sicker. They contain all sorts of stuff that they can just put up with that would kill us like this. So metaphorically, if you're exposed to a new kind of fire, you don't understand what this fire could do for you yet. You don't understand how it could open a wide range of possibilities. So if you just get yourself a little burned, you don't understand that it could be very valuable to learn to be next to this fire, to learn to pick up coals with a shovel and move them over here, how to be careful with the fire. This is, in many cases, exactly how people get traumatized. They touch in with an extreme intensity and they don't know how to deal with it. And one of the first things that some people do is they try to become dominant. And one of the first things other people do is they are willing to become submissive. And in that process, traumas get created. And in that trauma, you see whoever you were with as the evil. And they kind of are. But the way it happened, the way that went down, needs to be deconstructed. They don't actually know how to handle that fire. They were just as haywire as everybody else. The commitment to handle that fire is what enables you to heal. In fact, you can't heal your memory of trauma without being willing to go to that level. But in many cases, people say that fire burned me. It's that fire that's bad. It's that fire that I'm going to stay away from. It's very understandable. The problem is the universe is on fire. Universal love is more intense than we can remember from this perspective. And as you start to get in touch with it, people go a little haywire sometimes. And often the first exposure, the fifth exposure to this kind of intensity happened in a somewhat negative way. It happened in an accident. And you didn't understand that accident kind of happened because the energies got out of whack. The energies got so intense that somebody couldn't drive clearly or crashed their bike. And that happens conversationally. Conversationally, you stay up late with someone and it's really beautiful and it's really intense, but it just keeps building. It just keeps building. And you see dark things in that person. And it's freaky. And you remember the entire experience as that time you saw the fangs on your friend. And then you say no to it. This is all vibrational. And the reason it matters is because these peaks of vibration are so strong that they take over your consciousness in a certain way. And it's natural to say no. It's natural to say no to that. And yet, if you don't learn to burn at those levels, you'll never develop the ability to figure out how to retain your sense of self in the face of that intensity. You have to want it in order to get it. So I don't emphasize this enough, and partly I haven't been encouraged to it till now. Ask Thoth for help. Ask Thoth for help. Ask for help, and then ask again, and then ask again. I have said this, but I really want you to hear it. I act like a fucking duckling. Still, not nearly as much as I used to, but just any confusion. Help me, help me, help me. I can't tell you. I just went on a trip with my family. Whenever you go on a trip, every new region I go into, I stop and I say hi. There was a river in the town I went to. We went to a little town in Canada, and there was a river there. And I just stop and say hi. Because there's a spirit of the land beneath the humans. And then there's a spirit that are kind of guiding the different human communities there. And I'm just like, what's up? How you doing? And they talk right back to me. Now, under certain circumstances, other consciousnesses just stepped in because I'm different and I'm a little vibrated. They're like, what are you? And they just start talking to me. The second that engagement begins, there's a window of control. There's a window of more influence that you have. And I just go, Thoth, what's that? Thoth, what's that? Thoth, what's that? Help, help, help. No shame, no pride. I am not embarrassed that I don't know how to see or act or behave more deeply or with more of a sense of center, because I gained my center by asking for help in this way. It takes years. You may not ever be doing this. It's a real threshold to cross. I spent years not asking for help. I spent years enthralled with how much I could talk to everything. I would talk to every tree. For years, I would talk to the same tree every night. I would go on a walk. I would talk to this tree for years, and I would talk to the tree about my problems. When I finally moved away from the town I was in there, I saw that the tree was really sick. I hadn't even paid attention to what the tree was. When you first learn to talk to beings, you may not have a clear sense of who you're talking to or what's going on. You might not be able to digest or be aware of your impact on other beings. So it makes tremendous sense to tune in to essentially a deity. Now, I'm telling you, there are two ways this can go. You can tune into essentially an alien consciousness that's going to leave the planet. A lot of people are doing that. I don't encourage you to. Even if you do leave the planet, you might as well at least look around and figure out what's going on here a little before you leave. And there's a reason that the major figures at the major figures, they're here. All of them are here for you. Thoth, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Odin, they're all here. They're all here. And they'll all talk to you. You need to choose. Now, I do talk to several different ones, but I have relationships that I've built over the course of a lifetime. If when in doubt, choose one, and choose one there's a personal connection. Because one of the simplest things to do that I've done a lot, plenty of people do, is you hop between them because you get scared of how intense the presence could be. You stay with an angel long enough, it's going to bring up your problems. They will shine a light on you that essentially forces you to deal with the things you don't want to deal with. It's a non-negotiable threshold. And you just have to trust they know more about how to do this than you do. Now, here's a beautiful thing, people. This used to happen through direct teachers because this was as good as it could get, right? For centuries and centuries, people would just go to a teacher, and as they'd wake up, they'd start to talk to that teacher telepathically. And people do this with me all the time, but I'm not holding the space. I'm saying, look, you got to do that with Thoth. I'm not going to do that for you. First of all, I don't want to. I don't want to. It's not my job. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm calling you to a higher standard. I'm saying you need to take this deeper. And if you want to just hold me, you get to, but you don't get to talk all the time. You don't get to make waves whenever you feel like it. The simplest thing you can do is take the course, do the yoga, and it keeps you calm and centered. And I'm telling you, this will put you in a position where you can directly talk to Thoth telepathically whenever you need to. And that may well take a while. That may well take a while. So I invite you to be a little more present with what's already happening to you. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if those of you who listen to this haven't experienced the edge of these forces already. There is no shame in holding me and paying attention to this as a way of helping stabilize it. Just be aware your thresholds are unique to you. And it's very valuable to use this as like a base camp. So you could be here, you could be present with us, honor what we're doing together, and then you could go do your work. And you're going to go reach out and explore on your own, and you could come back. But just do it with respect for what we're creating together. It is a tremendous gift to be with each other in a way that puts us in a position to go explore what you need to explore on your own, and then come back and be safe and strong in a depth that is accessible to your extremes, because you know you want it. I know you've been hurt. I know you've been traumatized. I know it's been awful. In many cases, I'm not going to sit here and say it was fair. But that's not the point. It's what you've got. And to be at peace with what you've got, you have to stay long enough to remember the joy of it, the passion in you that you've wanted to burn this much. It's legitimate to doubt your desire to be so intense and brave and extreme and wild. It's legit. It's healthy. But don't let go. Don't give up. Because as you presence yourself in the depths, you remember yourself. You remember those parts of you which have committed to this, which have already said, yes, I want it. Please show me more, show me deeper. So I'm going to invite you to do something together right now. We're going to tune into the root. Now, wherever you're sitting, feel gravity. Sense your perineum. And start to breathe in a way that makes it easier to focus. Next breath, expand your belly. As you exhale, tuck your tailbone a little. Sucking your belly in. Keep doing that for a couple breaths. Expand your belly, push it out, tip your tail back. Exhale, tip it under. I am willing to remember the prayers that brought me here, the moments where I embraced my true potential. I breathe life into them, and I ask that I be shown how I can trust this more than the pain that happened after that. Help me heal so I can stay in this depth and this trust. And I breathe into my root, and I trust that that prayer is the vibration of my root. May I be present to respond to whatever I need to do to keep this real. And when I pray that myself, I invite you to mirror it. You can do it for yourself, and you can watch the recording and do it again. Now, there's another that comes next. Ready? I want you to feel connection through the root up to your heart. Just draw out your breathing. Allow longer, deeper breaths. Keep your focus right here on your heart. And breathe in a way that feels good. I am grateful to be in this body. Every day, help me to appreciate the simple gifts that make this a happier place to be. I feel the love in my heart extending to those around me. May this love empower them to heal and light up in the ways they are most ready to come to life. And I feel compassion for anything that's in the way, any part of myself that resists, any part of you that resists. I feel compassion for that pain and fear. May this compassion be bigger than that pain and fear. Keep it calm so it can heal and we can stay in this love. Hey, JD, welcome here. You're right on time. Any questions? The beauty of that phrase is really anything about what we've talked about, anything about other challenges that have lingered for you. There's a little time before I take a slight break before readings. Close my eyes, see if I missed anything. Well, well, they definitely serve different purposes, though I assure you they're not always like they're both. Um, Toth rides the edge of what is acceptable and what is not. And he gives chances to many beings to help them heal. He's a healer in the deepest sense. And thus, he has a very different understanding of what evil is. Check out the channeling on the nature of evil from Thoth. But he also has a real deep compassion for helping people heal in that way. So he lives at this edge, and then he pokes in, and it's like an Aikido style. Aikido is not aggressive. It's a not aggressive martial art, but they will like if they see your aggression, they will like jab it to try to trigger you to attack. So Thoth does that mentally and spiritually, and then he helps us deal with it. He helps us digest whatever comes up. And it's very pointed. It's like a doctor, but it's like a really powerful doctor. So he's going to poke into things like that and be present. Mary, I've never known her to do that. Mary, however, can be like really whip fast and smart and leading and jish, but she's very committed to nurturing and creating community and to helping people be the kind of people who can do that, even in the face of their traumas. But there's a more of an emphasis, at least for me, on maintenance, the development. There's a yeah, and in in many cases, people develop this like we protect our ouchies, right? And that can be terrible for us on a spiritual level because essentially we're developing a protectiveness over something that's festering and sick. So we're closing off something from healing for the capacity to heal. And he knows that. And he knows very distinctly exactly when something's ready to heal and what it takes to get it to heal. Now we've developed this protectiveness over it. It's like, don't touch me there. I'm wounded there. But that involves maintaining an identity of woundedness. And he has, no, I was about to say he has no patience for that. He has tons of patience for that. But he knows exactly when you're ready to change it. And he tries to facilitate us doing that. It's scary. I was terrified of him at first. I hid from him for 2 years. And I remember when he came back, one of my friends who I've incarnated multiple times with, and I have this higher self connection with him. And he's like, he showed up and he's like, dude, we can't keep telling him no. Like, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, we've been protecting you. You know, you asked for help to like to pull away, but you gotta like you need to. he was very gracious. He's like, my friends warning me, and then he brought me back into relation to Thoth. And I had to move through it. And Thoth had he's like, he's like, why did you do this? Why did you do this? Like, I'd made some mistakes over those 2 years. And it wasn't pleasant. But I assure you, it's so far beyond human error that it's like there's no point in anything that you see is probably projection during that period. You can just trust that. It's just projection. He loves you and wants you to heal. Trust that. So something's happening, and this is crucial. We've been talking a little in volley about the 144,000. There's a momentum building that at a certain point, there's enough intensity and presence of the new vibrations, Christ consciousness vibrations, that it starts to sweep through and take over people. The love of this world cares about you so much. And there is always this critical value on giving us as much freedom as can work within the system as it is. So it's very traumatizing. It feels somewhat like you're being raped to be taken over by an energy in this way. Now, I hesitate to make that comparison. I paused to see if I would, but it's close enough that you have to understand that the world doesn't force us through things unless it's really time. So this groundwork is being laid. It's actually air work. There's this consciousness grid, and it's literally resonant. And as more human beings tap in, we are making a vibrational bridge that makes the vibrations of Christ consciousness present within like the mainstream mind of global culture. And that's happening in these little pockets. We're a pocket of it, people. And it's happening in these little pockets, but there are thousands of these pockets. Trust that, like that. It's beautiful. And we'll link. We're starting to link, but we'll link fully when it's time. If we did link now, it would sweep through people. And like we've been explaining throughout this whole lesson, this consciousness, this Christ consciousness, universal love brings everything to the surface. It amplifies all the pains in everyone. And Gaia cares critically about having the structures here to support people. Because when you're confronted with all your pain all at once, it doesn't always go well. It can go better or worse, depending on how this happens. So it's necessary for the pace to be what the pace is. All sorts of systems are being put into place that help support people in the transformations, that help people catch themselves as you suddenly accept that you're carrying a lot of pain and you're the person in pain. Racists project their pain on Black people. It's the easiest thing. Like racist light-skinned people project their pain on dark-skinned people. And this is super functional because the dark parts of ourselves, the parts that we keep in darkness, it's an easy mechanism to put that on someone with dark skin. It works more effectively than a dark-skinned person putting it on someone light skin. It's awful, but there's a karma to how this all functions. So when people are projecting their pain onto someone of another culture, Gaia cares about that person, wants to help them heal so they'll stop doing that. So she wants to bring the Christ consciousness love into their presence in a way that can give them a chance to own it and heal. And that's what we're a part of, and it's magnificent, and it's really building, okay? So as traumas wake up, we are part of being strong and present and well, so we can help those who don't know what the hell's going on. And that's a big part of our calling. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't true for you. That's funny. Well, that's quite a name. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, just in this lifetime. Some people won't talk in this lifetime. And yes, because the act of communicating with angelic forces presences you to the universe, the one verse. The one verse doesn't help us deny. our pain. It's just relentlessly focused on bringing you into healing. It's also aware of pace. So the universal love of the world, Gaia isn't not a part of the universe. Gaia is mostly a part of the universe, and then we live in this subsection of Gaia that's out of tune. Make that clear, okay? Gaia exists on multiple levels that are perfectly in harmony with the universe. Most of her presence is in harmony. Then she's created this little playpen called human history. We exist within this playpen, and this playpen is beginning to open. If this playpen opened too fast, universal love floods in, amplifies everything that's happening to you, and you're forced to deal with pain before you know how, when there isn't enough help around you. That's our job, is to deal with it with each other and then to become people who can help those around us. Please understand that. It's more than a calling. It's crucial. So it is not beneficial for some people to try to talk to angels directly. It just doesn't work. They are not consciously able to embrace the compassion that's being given to them without the presence of a human being. They need a human. To bridge the gap to accept that from an angel is something else. Now, again, like we all have different roles, but one of the more critical transitions I went through, I went to live in a holistic center, and I thought it was like, haven. It was like going to be this oasis, and I got there, and it was very unpleasant in a lot of ways for me. And I found myself driving in a car my grandparents had given me, and they'd recently died. And I went off at night, and I just parked it in the desert, and I started crying. And they were there. And I felt their presence so distinctly, and I just poured, and I poured, and I poured, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And at first, when it was crying, I didn't believe it. So I tried to hold this woman who had offered to rent her house to me. She was older. She was a kind old woman who was like my grandmother, but younger. And I tried to hold her. And it didn't quite work. And then I felt my grandparents. And somehow it was the first time that I consciously held that bridge between the veils. And I held them. And I cried and cried and cried. It was like the most crying I've done. That opened a link for me where I was able to trust that I was able to receive the compassion through the veil without a human presence. But at first it was them. It was people who had loved me in physical form who were gone. Now, the little woman who had offered to rent this house, the next day, she said, every pipe in the house burst and it flooded. Like pipes all over the house burst and it flooded the whole house. It was tile floor. That's happened to me on multiple occasions where I've cried and focused on a person and then pipes have burst. She couldn't hold it. So there's this transition between some people can't trigger the movement of energy in life without a human being, but this also happens at the edge where that other human being might not be able to hold you. So you're going to get boosted into a space where you have to trust someone, at least someone who's passed, they've crossed over, they're in the light, they're in this universal connection. And really what's happening is you are opening across that veil. It's time for you to. And you need to trust that it's possible in order to just focus yourself. And once you do, there's a little link that happens. And once you trust that link, you open it more broadly. And then if you cry, if your emotion is present in it, then it opens in a way that you can continue to use it into the future. And then you become someone who can hold space for other people who are going through this change, who do need a human being. And you've opened yourself enough that you can hold that. And you won't burst the pipes all around them. It's intense stuff. It's like fluid dynamics in a lot of ways. It's very important. It's very important. You're needed. You're needed. It was rude. I felt bad for the woman. She left, but she did look at me with a little bit of a smirk. So uh, that was cool. I always feel like, on some level, we all know what's going on, right? This is, listen to the whole series on on heaven. There's like 7 advanced classes in a row from last August and September. And one of the more critical lessons you need to embrace in order to enter this space is you are transparent. You just have to start acting like you are transparent. You can't keep any of the baggage in your trailer a secret. It's all visible to certain layers of consciousness, but there's a moral boundary here that says the beings that can see you in that way, they love you, unless you are very hateful. If you are actively fueling hate in your life, you will magnetize other beings that are hateful. But as soon as you don't need to heal it, you just need to focus on the commitment to heal it. When you focus and fuel the commitment to heal it, you attract a different kind of presence that's going to help you heal it. It's that simple. And the more we build this strength together with each other, the more we can keep each other in these commitments. So next, I'm going to offer some readings. I'll be back. All right, people. It's good to see you. It's really wonderful. I want to explain something. It doesn't come very naturally to me to ask for money. And it's been a good challenge for me to say, hey, please give donations when I do these. It really does make a difference. And overall, it's not making much of a dent in the income level of Wildflowerfire at this point, but it does feel good to be thanked in that way. However, that's obviously not why I'm doing this. When I'm going to use this soon, but imagine I have a pitcher of water and I'm pouring it. Oh, I've got I've got a pitcher of water and I'm pouring it into this glass. Learning, in many cases, feels like taking a bath or taking a shower under this stream of life force moving in. If I am addicted to learning, and I am, I live in a university town. My parents are both got their doctorates. My family's full of students, professional students who also teach. I got addicted to learning. And it's so beautiful to learn in these depths that I love taking a shower under this stream of flow, right? But at a certain point, the way Thoth works is he's like, dude, if I fill up your cup, you're just gonna like the water's gonna be pouring out of your cup, but it's just I'm not gonna waste it. And I'm like, fuck you, keep teaching me. And he's like, no, you're wasting it. It's like if you want to keep learning, you have to teach. And the teaching looks like I set myself up so I'm overflowing into you. When I help take care of you, I'm overflowing into those around in a way that it's beneficial for him. Now he's like, oh, well, it's pragmatic for him to feed me more. And I'm addicted to taking that shower under the flow of life force, right? Well, he wants to make sure that I pass that on and share it with you. More than that, we are creating a field of energy together. And this is something that I'm only understanding more and more as time goes on. We are creating a strength together that enables things that weren't possible before. We are holding a strength of our presence with each other that enables me to stay tuned in a space where it's like, it's learning to like enjoy swimming in my cup rather than just being obsessed with the shower of new knowledge coming in. And the beauty of this is awesome. Like, it feels great to retain what I know I can be. And you all are helping me do this. And that's why I do the channel. Now, obviously, it's beautiful when it turns into a business. And, you know, most of the money comes from people doing sessions. And hopefully soon we'll translate that into more and more people doing the courses. We sold another couple recently. And it's exciting because that's people, that's you guys coming in and committing in a long way that builds this strength with each other. So obviously that's the effective side of the business. And if you're interested in sessions and the course in particular, please seriously consider it. It's the greatest gift. And when I give readings and it pops up that JD is giving me a donation, I'm grateful. It makes me smile. Thank you so much. All right. First reading, peoples. Jean. Okay, it's time. So I invite you into a piece with the fact that you've done work to be present with sort of receptive and assertive energies within yourself. On the earthly plane, that could be confused as men and women or male and female. And I think you've done work to be in tune with receptive and assertive sides in yourself in a way that's really healthy. It's important that you know that, because what you've done is tune yourself into who you really are more. Of course, our spirit connects us to our soul, and our soul is neither male or female. So as you gain the presence to know yourself, you've made this a priority, and it's worked. And you're at the threshold of a whole new phase. I'm seeing it. I always see into your lung chakra, because I think you just haven't been, you've been reforming yourself for so long. And you still have a need here to focus on a commitment, a project that you're involved in every day that channels your energy, that feeds you as you are. But you haven't been surrounded by enough support. So you haven't been able to stay tuned to what you need. And it's just been a cycle. Like, I'm constantly looking back at your lung chakra. And I know this is the fifth time I've said this, but I'm going to say it so much stronger. You need to think clearly about what you can do, an ongoing commitment that feeds your true self more, because you're not getting enough support there, and it's messing everything else up. It makes everything else feel like, well, why? Like you're surrounded by things you feel like you should be doing, and you're not doing them because your core self is still throwing a fit that you're not getting enough of what you need. You need to take more assertive steps, and it's not comfortable. You're going to have to force things into your life in a way that you really have to carve out the space. My obvious encouragement is to take a yoga practice to the next level. If I don't get some yoga every day, I feel like shit. I need at least 20 minutes. 20 minutes in the morning. There's almost no days that go by when I don't do at least that much. Then I need at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times with an hour. Now, I don't make myself do that. I wait until I feel the need. You already feel the need. You need to honor it and follow it and push other things out of the way. And I really encourage you to take a practice to the next level as a core commitment, and then see what that does, because that's going to make space for the part of you that knows how to make the other choices in your life. And give it 3 months. You need 3 months of a more regular practice, more consistent and deeper. And then you're going to have a clearer sense on like how to change the more day-to-day elements of your life. Lungs. You need it, Gene. You need it. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you. So you're doing a lot better than you think. There's a space in your energy that it both looks rather pure, and it looks like it didn't used to be. And the biggest change you could make is to catch up. There's a story that I love about Edmund Hillary, who first climbed Mount Everest, was going with some Sherpas, and he was like pushing really hard ahead, but they were early on. And then he looked around, and the Sherpas were sitting, and he went back to them, and he was like all mad. He's like, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We're waiting for our spirit to catch up." You need to spend a little time waiting for your spirit to catch up. So you know yourself as you actually are now, and you stop thinking of yourself as you used to be. So I'm going to encourage you to focus on your navel, and you've got a little more processing work to do here, which means I can see a dense energy. It's not terrible, but it's like in the way. It looks like old dead skids. You need to work on that. And the best way I know how is core yoga. All right. So if you know your own sit-up practice, great. Do a lot of core sit-up things that use your core. Pilates is great. If somebody's into Pilates, I'm not messing with you, do that. But if those things aren't a part of your life, the core yoga practice on Wild Chakra Yoga is less than half an hour. And I encourage you to do it at least once this week. And if you like it, you can do it up to 3 times. But I typically do it like 2 times a week. You don't even need to think much. You just need to process some of that energy, get it out, and let yourself catch up with who you are now. You've got this, Christina. You've got this. Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Jace. So last week was really intense for you. I'm not going to try to match that. I'm just going to build on it. Your heart, you have a solidly present, strong love. And like we brought up last week, you are so used to carrying 50 pounds on your back that you just think that that's who you are. You over rely on the strength of your love, and you have for a long time. So what we want to do is help you put some of this down. You just don't know how to trust yet that the best way to love other people is to fully be yourself where you are. There you go. To fully be yourself where you are, you resonate an intensity of love that some people from your past really and truly can't handle. It's not judgment, it's fluid dynamics. They can't love you without confronting problems that are their problems. You can't go fix their problems for them. You have tried to love people by fixing the problems that you know are in the way for them. And it doesn't work. You can't fix their problems for them. You can't bear their problems in a way that will take them away. You need to trust that by staying still in yourself, you're resonant. They will be there at a distance, healing at the pace they can handle. And you need to let them go to do that. And they'll call you when they really need you. Sometimes they call you in dreams. I've got a couple of people from my past who they contact me in my dreams. I write to them and I say, what? Sometimes I just say, what? Because they're not fully comfortable with this. They're not fully comfortable with the depths of these connections, but they want to believe. They just need to do it at their pace. You need to be that person for other people. You haven't fully settled into it. And you can. You're ready and you need to. So I'm going to encourage you to focus on your heart. Give your heart some extra help this week. Understand that if you let yourself feel more in your heart, you're going to clear out some of the attitudes you've been burying for other people, some of this desire to fix other people prematurely. Stop reaching for them. Stay here, cleanse your heart, and trust that this fire will attract people when they're ready. There you go. Leah Falanius. My goodness. Hello. Welcome here. So your mother is still kind of over you. And I'm going to encourage you to look into your root, your sense of who you are and your identity and your community. Your mother's attitudes are still kind of over you, and you need to be next to her. So you have a more honest ability to recognize her flaws or shortcomings, the limitations to how she sees the world without being mad about it, just being practical. So there are a lot of times when you get pissed, but you're getting pissed more as a child in a way that you can't afford to react. It's reaction. When you sit next to her and you could say, well, she's stuck there and I can't change her. And there's a difference. Sometimes your struggles can have an impact and sometimes they can't. And this is the only thing I want you to focus on, learning to do a better job of figuring out when can you actually help change things and when do you just need to take your space? Just that question. When will saying, damn it, stop thinking that way, actually help? And when will it just get you tangled in quicksand and drama? So there's a relationship like this where sometimes we can put people above us. You need to turn it on its side. Turn it on its side and be next to her. And then discern. Sometimes you say no, but say no in a way that could actually be helpful. And sometimes you just say, hey, I'm not doing that. I'm going over here. This is in your root. Root chakra work can do some of this for you. Your root chakra naturally wants you to be surrounded and connected to the community that fulfills your true needs. It's a scary transition when you start using energy work like this because it's like magic. You don't get to think with it all the time. You don't get to have like a promise about how things will change. And I'm inviting you into that. Focus on your root. Focus on root chakra exercises, which are in the chakras in the key ring. There's a whole long list of meditations, and each one has exercises for each chakra. So you could do them all and then emphasize the root. There's particularly the 12 chakra activation meditation. It has 1.5 minutes for each chakra. The root, that's really important work. It's really healthy. You could do it a lot. And as you do it, it's going to help you tune into who you really are and to stop living out other people's projections on you. Aha. Well, okay. Oh, I just saw that. I have no contact with her. So that's great, but you do. We all we all have contact with our family, right? So what it's about is the paradigm through which you see her. I'm glad I caught that before I moved on. It's the paradigm through which you see her. So it's about turning it this way. You want to turn it. So it's about looking into your memories. And we could do this. We could change the past. You look into your memory and you see something like this, and then you turn it and just you let something not be powerful in the same way, and then it becomes just more accessible. You change the whole perspective on it. It takes work, but it's incredible because you basically change the past. And it can be somewhat sad because as you see someone in this perspective, it's almost painful to watch someone become this change where they go from being above you to next to you. And when you do, you see their fragility and you see their woundedness differently. And at the same time, like usually in this kind of revelation, you can't do anything about it right now. And that's sad. But a lot of times people they aren't ready to change. And you're going to see it and yet be helpless to do anything about it. And particularly if you're not in direct contact, that might be a little easier, but it's still painful emotionally. And I encourage you to let yourself feel that because it's the feeling that will process the change and keep you in a new zone so you don't have to struggle. And make no mistake, we can't really leave our parents. It's like we can leave them, we can move to the other side of the world, but they're in our mind. So our power involves changing the relationship we have to those forces within us. That's a lot. You've got some work to do there that's going to be very liberating. Root chakra helps do it. Our chakras help put us in a new consciousness state, and then we figure it out later. We figure out what it means later. And I encourage you to trust that. The whole 12 chakra activation meditation is valuable. I mean, don't do it every day. That's too much, but certainly every week is valuable, and people do it more than that. Pernilla. So I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. You need to sing for an hour. You can be by yourself, but you need to sing for an hour and get past judgment. Get past judgment. Don't record it. Don't share it. Just sing. Now, an hour's worth of songs is, 10 songs. You could choose 10 songs. Like, choose them. Sing it twice if they're short. And do it. This is like a discipline. I almost never tell people to do this. You need to do this. Because there's a certain baggage that people can carry that does get communicated musically. And it's like, okay, yeah, I hear that you've got that. But the only way to get past it is to keep going. You need to keep going. And that's metaphorical for what you need in life. Like, you are stopping too much to reevaluate things. And you need to move through. Like, yes, you have challenges that you're carrying, but they're not going to get better through reevaluation at this point. They're going to get better through practice and moving, and letting energy move through you in a way that will help flush things. And you're legitimately scared to let that flushing happen. It's unnerving, but you need the power level to up, and you need to get used to that heightened level of intensity and presence within yourself. And when I say that, I really mean it literally. You need to get used to it. It takes 6 weeks to get used to a new level of power. So you could do 1-hour concerts 6 weeks in a row, just once a week. There's no point in speculating on how it would feel until you do that, because once you do that, you would be in a different place. I cannot encourage you to do that enough. And this is a very specific suggestion. If you don't do it right away, I take no offense, but I do really think it would work for you, Pernilla. Throat, the chakra, throat. It's a strength for you. You just need to emphasize it. And once you emphasize it, you're going to attract more of what you need in your life. You're going to trust yourself more, and you're going to be more used to a fluid intensity moving through you, because you've already made a certain range of breakthroughs that you just haven't brought into the rest of yourself. And you're busy trying to make more breakthroughs, it looks like to me. And you need to integrate what you've already done. And I think music is a really good way. I invite you to focus on that. If you don't do it this week, do it next week. I encourage you to do it this week. Janie. Janie, you're doing busyness again. You're filling yourself with busyness. Busyness. It's hard to weed through, JD. Okay, so you just need to quiet it. All right. You need to carve out time where you're not doing anything. You need to just sit in a chair. What's the longest you've sat in a chair with just a drink? Not a digi phone. I refuse to call those things smart. They're not fucking smart. Nothing else. Just a drink and the landscape. How long can you sit with a hot drink and the landscape? You need to chill out this busyness, because this busyness is covering up feelings that you don't want to deal with. So you need to create space to let those feelings come up and deal with them on purpose, JD. You've got some baggage, some weight in your sacral chakra. It's pain, and it doesn't last forever, and it does want to move. Here's something that you need to trust. Everybody needs to trust this, but you need to trust this more than anyone else right now here. Our spirit wants to heal. Your immune system will heal a cold on its own. It does the work. But if you help, it'll do it more effectively. If you give yourself liquids, if you don't eat sugar, if you give yourself rest, it'll be more capable. Chakra system's the same way. You don't need to control everything, but you've experienced pain in relation to feelings like you were made bad choices and you were out of control. So your mind is gripping too tight to heal. You're squeezing too much on the problems that you've had. And essentially, you're too scared that they would happen again to let yourself feel them. That's it. This is what you need to trust. I want you, hot drink, staring out the window. It's probably too cold to be outside right now, but be outside if you can. Put on a hat. Just appreciate life. calm down the busyness and allow yourself to be present with what's underneath, because it wants to heal. You just need to help. You're gripping too tight to let it heal. Sacral chakra, always go back to the heart when you get overwhelmed. So anything, when you get overwhelmed, go back to the heart, but particularly with the sacral, there's a natural connection that works really well. Let the energy rise up to your heart when you feel overwhelmed. And Leah, I caught your comment. I don't always catch the comments, but yes, what you did is you rebelled and you cut, but your memory is still in this form of like, I broke that, but you don't want this. Even if you're on top sometimes, you don't want this, you want this. And then you can just emotionally and spiritually create more distance in a way that's effective, and even learn to feel compassion for her pain, which has been a trap, a manipulative trap in the past, I sense. But you can transcend that and learn to feel compassion without getting sucked into it, even in your memories. Okay. Ryan. So, Ryan, you need to know something. This is mostly masculine, right? Sports. One of the fundamental things that's happening with sports is people are bundling their aggression into balls and throwing them at each other. And they're actually fighting over the energy of the bundled up aggression. The irony is everybody's actually fighting over energy that they ultimately don't really want. This is all energy that people, they haven't come to terms with the pain in their life. They haven't come to terms with the false pressures in their life or whatever, this or that or the other. And then they all pit it against each other in this innocuous, pointless activity and just do this until it all kind of diminishes a little and focuses. You are doing that on a different level. You're afraid to lose. You're afraid to lose. And I'm going to encourage you to, what I can invite you to trust is the space in which you're afraid to lose is something you need to lose. It's like you want to let it go. And it's like it's akin to telling someone on a sports team you want to lose. But did you hear about this? There was a 25-year-old star. I mean, he was an American football player. He was a 25-year-old star player. He just walked off the field one day. He was making $1 million something. He walked off the field. He said, I don't want to do this to myself. That kind of energy, you need to walk away from a certain kind of competition within yourself, because you're this close, man. You're ready to flower. You are opening some really cool energies. You're opening some really cool energies, and they're more important than this other stuff. You've got them mixed together, but it's what is actually calling you and fueling you is a very deeply personal and beautiful connection to divine guidance and love that I respect. It's working, and you could liberate it if you let go of this other story. It's in your third eye. It's in your third eye. It's almost like a veil over your third eye. And your third eye is it's always been it's alive and stuff. But if you need to just let go of this whole story, and it's going to feel like losing under certain circumstances, and just let yourself lose. You're basically losing you're not losing to me. You're not losing to any person. You're losing it. You're letting it go. You don't want it. Third eye exercises can help this happen, particularly if you meditate with that. I let this go. You don't need to know what it is. I let this go. I let this go. Shannon. Huh. I'm seeing you painting something white. Yeah, it looks like it's time to this might be literal, it might be figurative. I can't always tell the difference, but it looks like it's time to like take care of the basics of your surroundings. Um, if there is a room in your house you've thought to repaint, now would be a good time, I would suggest. But there's a sense of just like you're ready to take care of things that you've left to languish for a long time. And I think it'd be really helpful to focus on physical things first, and that would help put you in a position to tune into what spiritual and creative endeavors to take to the next level, because those sides of you have been languishing and you need it. Yeah, in your throat, big time. There's like an artist in you that's really sad to have been under nurtured. Let me tell you, the thing about the throat chakra. Now, you all need to do these meditations in some way. I mean, in some form that works for you. The key ring meditations. It goes heart, crown, throat. When we make divine breakthroughs in any form, the energy wants to be expressed through the throat next. There's a natural flow. You, Shannon, have learned too much you have to, it's stuck here. It's not stuck. You don't need to learn more. You don't need to second guess what you've learned or gained, open to spiritually. You need to share more. And it's a little bit like my joke about myself, where you can't fill a cup to overflowing. Like the universal love won't give you more until you have a place for it to overflow to. And our art is a form, like we're channeling energy into form that shares our spiritual inspiration. You need to do it. Paint the walls white, see what that does for you. Throat chakra, focus on it. It'll help you tune into, you know what your artistic expressions are. You know what your artistic expressions need to be. So make space for them. MKZ. Have you had another name here, MKZ? Do I know you by another name? Yeah, before I start MKZ, Shannon, I would expect so. It's totally under nurtured. So by breathing heavily here, you generate positive energy here, and that positive energy helps you think clearly about what you need to do. I would emphasize it. All right. MKZ. So it's pretty quickly to your solar plexus. You're not praying clearly for what you want. There's a definite sense that like you're afraid of your own power. It's like if you were to ask for what you really want, you're afraid that you would get something bad. I'm gonna like someone who's been addicted. I'm gonna be extreme, but someone who's been addicted to drugs could plausibly like get themselves in a situation where they have no income because they're afraid if they had a lot of income they would spend it on drugs. You have that kind of energy in your, not drugs explicitly, I changed the intuition on that, but your solar plexus is afraid of more energy because you're afraid of what you would choose to do with it. So what you need, it's like try to steer a car that has a tip to the side. Like you need to commit to building a clear sense of a positive intention. And it takes work sometimes. What you naturally want to do could be carved like a groove in the ground. So what you naturally want to do isn't necessarily good for you. So you have to sit down and say, what do you genuinely think would be good for you? Now this shouldn't be too hard, like, but it might not flow. You have to make it, you have to put yourself in that healthy flow. Now that's the bad news. The bad news is you're off course in terms of you're not asking for what you need. It's very grade. It's almost like you start to ask for it and you're smudging it again and again. But what you can do that would be really positive is realize 3 weeks. You need 3 weeks of a commitment. Don't do your bad habits, the bad habits you're afraid of. For 3 weeks, you're going to just be disciplined about this. No, you're not. You're not thinking forever. You're thinking 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Don't do the bad habits. Do positive steps every day towards something good. Now, obviously, I'm biased towards do the yoga. And the standing flower yoga is really accessible. There's a reason we start with that, because it's actually a very good bridge. You don't have to change your clothes. You don't have to get on the ground. It's all limited motions that are accessible no matter what shape you're in. When you commit to putting those things into practice every day, you only have to push it for like 3 weeks. Diet for you too. You need to like control your diet for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. After that, you could even reconsider, but it doesn't have to be a lifetime of control. It looks to me like you've tried to steel yourself for a lifetime of control. Get yourself in positive habits for 3 weeks, and they start to help you. They start to take on a momentum of their own. There starts to be a magnetism towards them that makes it easier. You need to trust that. So you need a cleanse, a 3-week cleanse. You know how good you are. Like, you know what you can take on. 3 weeks in which you positively institute yoga, refuse some negative addictive habits for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, and real emphasis on the diet. Like, what is a healthy diet for you? So I'm going to do this right now. We're going to do this together. All right. I'm going to invite you all to breathe into your nose tip. Just 3 breaths in and out, and then do some more if you need to. Focus on your nose tip. Breathe here. Ooh, real strong surge helps be present. Some of you felt that. What is a healthy diet for you? Well, skip what you think should be, and what do you know is healthy for you? Three critical things that are in your healthy diet that help you focus, like a specific meal. Think it, see it, feel it. Think it, see it, feel it. Breathe with your nose tip. MKZ, you need to commit to 3 weeks of this diet. Just 3 weeks. Don't think about what happens after that. 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you're going to check in and you're going to notice you're in a different alignment. Commit to the discipline it takes to last that long, and trust that that discipline is going to put you in a new flow. You'll be able to think more clearly about other goals in your life that you need to focus on. You're going to be able to imagine more clearly the true prayers you need for yourself. But right now, it's too cloudy for you even to get in touch with. So get in touch with the basics first with this commitment, and trust that after 3 weeks, you'll be in a much better position to determine your next steps. Word. Erica. Okay, I'm just going with this. I think that you need to get up and like do it like this, like like that. Like, you need to do that like as part of your life. I just saw it all at once. You need to get up and do a little happy dance when things go well, and just like stretch yourself out, and don't let yourself get locked into static feelings, because you are feeling too trapped, but you're almost like you've set the goal too high. Like, you don't need to go out and dance for 2 hours. You need to just do that, just like 10 seconds, and then see how that changes you. There you go. Just put that in your commitment. Put that in your solar plexus as a prayer to like get up and do a little happy dance more often. Like make up excuses. And then you're going to build on that, but focus there. Like 3-song dance parties are the best. 3 songs, so accessible. You can do that. 3-song dance parties, but you have to carve out time to make that happen. You don't have to carve out time to like just do that. Otherwise, I don't want to mess with it. It's working. It's working. Good job, Erica. All right, Kinsey. Well, I would like to point out that you've kind of done a good job of diagnosing yourself. You really related to the distractibility and how you're filling things up with noise. I'd say that what I would add to do is that you lurch. So this comes from a misunderstanding of your own power in a way. Like, you know how much you could get done all at once. So you construe surges of attention with your identity. What you need is consistency. And that's why, yes, what you just said is like, that's what you need to follow. 3 weeks, okay? 3 weeks of doing it. Now, here's the thing. Watch me, Kinsey, and this definitely goes for everybody, all right? So, heart chakra, I'm doing the yoga, okay? I'm doing it. Now, my choice is I can also do this. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay. You need to live between those choices. Stillness and movement. The reason we're introducing it so simply at first, where there are these 2 routines, there's the standing and the balancing. So there's the one in stillness and the one with movement. You get to choose between those. And you can do the practice and change within the practice. If you notice that the movement doesn't work, go still. If you notice that the stillness doesn't work, move. You might be surprised at how much that changes your relationship to doing the practice, is to keep giving yourself that choice. Neither is better. There's no better. Be between that. And when you navigate a practice with the permission to change back and forth, sometimes the resistance frees up. Add to that 3 weeks of committing to do it, even when you don't really want to, is going to put you in a new zone. 3 weeks, 3 times a week. 3 weeks, 3 times a week. It will put you in a new zone where it starts to come more naturally, where you start to feel it in a way that magnetizes you. Because yes, you're carrying too much baggage. You're distracting yourself to avoid what's underneath. And you need to build strength to deal with what's underneath, because your inclination is to try to deal with it all at once. And like, come on, like, stop putting that kind of pressure on yourself. You just need to consistently learn to change your attitude. My wife did this for me. Room scans. Just learn to do room scans. Like, scan the room. Is there anything basic in the room that needs to be cleaned up? Simple stuff that, because the kids are making chaos all day long. And she's like, I'm sick of dealing with this all by myself. So the goal isn't to commit to always mopping the floor, always vacuuming the carpet, always doing this. The commitment is one thing: to scan the room. And you build into your life this new attitude where you're starting to pay attention to things that you've been avoiding. Kinsey, you need to scan yourself. You need to build it into your life to just scan yourself and develop the ability to take care of the things that you see and feel. You're seeing with your feeling, all right? Heart chakra is the emphasis, the focus. The heart is where you go by nature when you start this kind of attitude. You're really strong. You're really strong here. Just keep going, because what you lack is this disciplined approach. And so you need to give yourself the 3 weeks of momentum so you could build a confidence of like, hey, this really is the missing piece for me. This really is the work that builds and contributes to fixing all these problems that I haven't been able to fix. And once that connection clicks in and you get that doing the 20 minutes of yoga is a foundation of making the difference, it'll stop being a head trip and you'll stop having a wrestling match in your head about it. Put up with 3 weeks of the wrestling match, win, and you'll feel better. And look, if it's physically painful, just use the meditation. You can stand, you can sit and do the meditation. It'll build the strength to enable you to help heal the pains in the body eventually. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Kinsey. It could be sometimes that gentle momentum is ultimately much more powerful. The forced thing is like that's its own problem. All right. Yeah, me too, Emilda. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. All right. Haha, we're done. Weekly witness. There isn't it's kind of cool. I'm feeling the coherence of the group, and there isn't anything that like resonates through. So I'm going to invite you to tell us what chakra and theme you're working on this week. To invite you to be witnessed and to share in that witnessing our empowerment. So we help you focus on the work you need to do this week. Come over to the Wildflower space. Let us know what that work is. Do associate it with a chakra, because that can really help you know to remind yourself. Do the exercises, take a break. When we do the weekly witness and when we connect these to chakras, I'm inviting you to use unlimited 1-minute breaks. Unlimited 1-minute breaks doing the breathing for that chakra. So if you're working on your nose tip chakra because you're focused on your diet and retuning your daily nutrition, you want to tune into exactly what you actually need to be acting on and feeling with and eating and changing the rhythm. So if I know that that's my challenge, I'm going to say, feel the nose tip. And I am shocked to find that what I want to do is get up, go to walk outside, get myself a coffee at the local coffee shop, which is actually good for me. It really feels great to get out there, connect with people. I know that's what I need next. And when I surrender to doing the exercise for roughly a minute as a break in my day, I'm not just amplifying the strength of this chakra. I'm focusing myself in a way that helps me know what to do next. What other steps can I take? So I can't emphasize this enough for you. When I'm inviting you to work with a chakra, I'm inviting you to do unlimited breaks where you do the breathing with that chakra. If you don't know the breathing exercise, learn it. Come on, 12 essential breathing exercises. It's not, you can do this, but you don't even need to do the breathing exercise. You focus on your heart, breathe. for a minute. Set a timer. Come on. How many of you can do this? Hey, Siri, set a timer for a minute.
1 minute. Counting down.
You can do that. And I'm going to focus on my heart for 1 minute. I invite you to do it with me. Yes, we're trying to jolt you out of normal patterns. I'm following the rhythm of feeling. I'm breathing in rhythm with the feelings that keep my focus on my heart. Some of the breaths are deeper. Some of them are drawn out. You can do that, people. Do it often. One of my first students was a teacher of mine, actually. And I came back to my hometown and I told her what I'd learned about the 12 chakras. And she was like, it was the best response I could hope for. Because she's like, I want you to teach me this. You're going to do a course. You're going to charge me half because I'm going to help you figure out how to teach the course. And she was the best student. She loved it. She was so humble. And if you've ever had a teacher of yours learn something from you, it's very humbling. It's not something that I ever expect. She's like, unlimited 1 minute breaks. I wrote that in the first copy of the book. She's like, I love it. I do it all the time. Unlimited 1 minute breaks. Because you get to build the momentum that you know you're investing in what you actually need. It's very beautiful. So I can't encourage this enough. And every week when we do the weekly witness, the goal is I want to increasingly associate this more with chakras. The weekly witness, to be witnessed in your intention, helps reinforce that intention. We're all here rooting for you. When you connect that with a chakra, particularly if I've read you and connected it with a chakra, then you could go and just talk a little bit about what you think, because I can't see your face. Even if you just type, it's concentrated time on you. You're going to the Wildflowerfire space. You're saying what you're focusing on. And then your job, if you can spend long amounts of time, great. But the starting point is these 1 minute breaks. That doesn't take too long. It's not very stressful. You add that 1 minute break to your day, you're pushing everything out of the way, and you're re-emphasizing your intention. And it works. It's magic. It works. I love you, people. It's really good to be with you. It's really good to share these. We're building something incredible. Next week, I want to talk more about one of the end goals of this. I want to tell you ahead of time because this is going to build. This seems like dauntingly beautiful to me. Okay, so this is the trailer for next week. I've been getting so Thoth is basically communicating to me a lot more about the goal of this work for me, like through me, what I have to share. And the beauty of it is really quite fantastic. And I think some of you can tune into this and know it to be true. There are fields of energy that exist. There's this beautiful thing called morphogenic fields. And if you've heard of the 100th monkey principle, it's a critical example of what this is. And I'll be sharing it next week again. Fields of human consciousness exist across time. So once they are created, they last. When I watch my adorable little daughter, a year and a half, is going around the house going, little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. And it's from Mary had a little lamb, little lamb. It's so beautiful to see her doing it. And she just gravitates right to this song. And one of the reasons that happens is because she's tapping into a field of energy that exists. She subconsciously knows she's tuning into something that has a presence, and she's sharing in this joy with all these other people who sung the song. All of human history exists within certain ranges of places. It's like there's a playpen where all our ideas and songs and thoughts and communities have their own resonance, but it's very limited. There are morphogenic fields from Atlantean culture when a fair part of their experience existed in a much more loving way. Now, I'm not over idealizing this. It exists. And we have had a very hard time connecting to this presence because it's so foreign to all of what we've known of as human. We're getting close, people. We're getting close enough to start to tap into it. And that is a big part of what we are doing, is helping to build a bridge. Now, we're one of 20, according to him. And when it's time, we'll get to meet others. But in the meantime, we're building a field of energy where we're like a base camp, where we connect with each other and we maintain something that becomes normal to us. And we're doing this across distance, which actually requires a lot of spiritual gymnastics in a sense. Like, to trust this despite the pressures that are around us means that we're learning to trust a resonance across distance that outweighs the pressures that are on us from the world right here. Now, there are energies that resonate in the world right around us. And to generate something with each other across distance that outweighs that and keeps us focused is very, very special. And that's part of our job. And as we do it, we're gaining access to these deeper fields. And these deeper fields, we need them. Like, it's part of our job to bring them to life in this world. And I'm very excited to do more of this with you. Bless you guys. Much love be with you and your families.